Welcome back everyone to this new episode of my chess series on tactics. This is a series where I am analyzing the various elements of a chess tactic. If you don't know, in chess, a tactic is a combination of force moves which lead to a winning of material or to checkmate. This episode is gonna be about the X-ray attack and the skewer. But before you get started, please like and subscribe. The button is just down below and it helps me a lot. Also, I left the link to my Twitch channel in the comments, so feel free to follow me on Twitch. And also, I left a bonus puzzle at the end of the video, so definitely stick till the end. Having said that, we can get started. So, we will kick things off with the X-ray attack. Alright, in chess, an X-ray attack is when a piece controls a square indirectly. Generally, pieces cannot jump over other pieces. For example, a queen cannot move all the way here because there is a queen blocking the way. But in this case, we can see that the rook is controlling the f-file. So it is controlling the f8 square as well. And one thing we can analyze here is that both the rook and the queen are controlling the f8 square. You say, well, that's not possible because the queen is blocking the way of the queen, of our queen, I mean. But in this position, the move rook to f8 is possible, and this is a fork, and we win the black queen. This is possible because the f8 square is controlled by our queen as well, because once the queen takes, we can take the queen as well. Now, there are two types of X-ray attack. This is the first type we're going to talk about, and this consists of an X-ray attack where two pieces, in this case the queen and the rook, move in the same direction, in this case straightaways. And this is possible with queen and queen, queen and rook, and two rooks, because they all move in straightaways. And another example would be, for example, a queen and a bishop because they both move on diagonals. And this is definitely the easiest kind of X-ray attack to spot because they both move in the same direction. So you just need to follow the path of the pieces and you need to spot that the queen, even though it is blocked by the black queen, can actually control the f8 square. Now, let's look at another example. In this case, the queen and the bishop team up on the f6 square. And we can actually give the check on f6 with bishop and fork the king and the queen. This is only possible because the queen controls the f6 squares as well. Even though it doesn't seem possible because the queen blocks, this is actually possible because once the queen takes, you're just gonna take back with your own queen, and it's gonna be made soon with rook to g7 and rook to a7. All right, this is the first example of the first type of X-ray. Then there is the second type, which consists of two pieces, for example, a rook and a bishop, which team up on a square, but since they move along different directions, it's kind of harder to spot. Let's take this example. Now, the first thing, this is kind of more complicated, but if you just scan for attacks and checks, you're gonna spot the tactic. Now, the first thing I want you to see is that this knight is unguarded, so we can actually threaten it, and the knight is unguarded. Now, the two rooks are staring at each other, but the rook is protected by the queen, so we cannot take it because it will just get taken back. But one move we can play is to actually give the bishop checks on f6. And this check is very important because it forks the king and the knight. And this move is only possible because the rook is protecting the f6 square as well, because even though it is blocked by the rook, this is an X-ray attack on the f6 square. So the move bishop f6 wins for white because after takes, we win an exchange. Now, this is a puzzle about X-ray. I talked about all the different elements of an X-ray attack, and I want you to find the solution to this problem. Now, pause the video if you like, so you can think it through, and you can try to find the solution. And now I'm going to give you the solution. Now, this problem is more complicated than the position I showed you earlier, and the move is actually queen to h6 check. This move is an X-ray attack because the bishop is protecting the h6 square. And you say, well, what happens after takes takes? Well, actually, there is mate in 2 because the king has to move to the h file, and once it does it, we can play bishop to f8 check, and this is checkmate. The queen has to block, and this is checkmate. All right, this was the skewer attack. This was the X-ray attack. Now let's move on to the skewer. All right, a skewer is related to the pin. If you remember correctly, when I talked about the pin, I explained that the pin is actually a chain of 3 pieces: the attacking piece, the pinned piece, and the victim piece or square. And the skewer is actually the opposite of a pin, is when the attacking piece attacks the pinned piece. And once the pinned piece is forced to move, we can take the victim piece. In this case, the move bishop to e2, bishop to b2 attacks the king on e5, and the king has to move, and then we can take the queen on h8. So you can see that this resembles, not this, this resembles the pin. There is the pinned piece, there is the victim piece, and there is the attacking piece. But this is the opposite, is when the attacking piece attacks the pin piece and it has to move, and once it does, we can take the victim piece. Now, well, one thing you need to keep in mind is that you always have to look for attacks on valuable pieces. In this case, if you scan for attacks on valuable piece, you will see that the move bishop to b5 is a skewer, because once it moves to b5, the queen is forced to move, otherwise it would just get taken. And then once the queen moves, you can take the rook on e8. In this case, for example, let's say queen e8, you take the rook and the queen takes back, and you just win a rook. Now, you need to be careful in skewers, because more often than not, there is a way in which the pinned piece can actually move with tempo, and then the opponent will just move the target piece, and you will not win any material. Let's say, for example, in this position, we play the same move as before. We play the move bishop to b5, attacking the queen and skewing the rook. In this position, black has an in-between move and Vichenzuk, which allows black to move the queen with tempo, and then black will move the rook as well. In this case, the moves are queen to d4 and queen to a7, which are both a check on the king. And then let's say queen b4, king h1, the rook will just move, and you will be fine. So you when you are looking for skewers, you always need to keep in mind that the pinned piece, let's say, can actually move with tempo, and if it does, you don't win any material. Another thing to keep in mind is that the pinned piece, which is attacked, can also move, and when it moves, it protects the target piece. In this case, if we go for the same move, bishop to b5, the queen can actually just move and protect the knight. And in the position I showed you earlier, this was a rook, so you would win a rook for a bishop, but in this case, the queen can protect the knight and you don't win any material. Now, this was the skewer. Now I'm gonna show you a puzzle about the skewer, and I'm gonna ask you to solve this puzzle, and take a moment to pause the video if you like, so you can find the solution, and now I will give you the solution. All right, this problem requires you to be a bit creative. It's actually pretty funny. The move here is bishop to f6, and this is a skewer itself because it skewers the queen and the king. With the move bishop to f6, we are threatening the queen. and the queen cannot move, it's illegal because otherwise we will just take the king. But you say, well, what happens after queen takes, right? Well, actually, in this position, there is a move queen to a1 check, and the king has to move, and you will win the queen. All right, this was all for today. But as I promised in the beginning, I will show you a bonus puzzle, which isn't about the skewer X-ray. It's just a fun puzzle um, that I saw on the internet, and I wanted to show it to you. This problem needs you to be creative because I mean it's pretty crazy. I'm not gonna give you the solution because I want you to discuss about the problem in the comments. So if you want, you can you can try to solve it. No engine allowed, and yeah, that's it. As always, I hope you liked the video and see you in the next one.